Hello everyone, my name is Alexandra Norelli and I will be presenting modeling the small-scale spatial distribution and movement of tropical tuna in the central eastern Atlantic. My dissertation focuses on the development of an agent-based model which will be utilizing the aottp dataset. To develop an agent-based model, it's important to start with a goal in mind. My goal is to model the schooling behaviors of yellowfin, big eye, and skipjack tuna in the Atlantic by focusing in on mixed schools, where they're forming, where they're sustaining, and where they're breaking up, in order to test management strategies that will improve the catch composition and yield by increasing or maintaining skipjack catches and decreasing juvenile yellowfin and big eye catches. This model will include the agents of the fish, including the yellowfin, big eye, and skipjack, as well as fish aggregation devices, fishers, and seamounts. To build the model, I will be using meta-analysis and looking through the literature for important parameters such as speed or environmental preferences. Once I have collected that information, I will be making the model in Java Mason. Once I have a model running, I will need to validate it, and that means I will take a snapshot of reality and compare it to my simulated fishery. Once the validation has occurred, I can then test management strategies in the simulated fishery. Since this presentation is focused on the validation phase of my project and where I'll be using the most aottp information, I would like to present my R Markdown document. What an R Markdown document is it is a series of chunks of code intermixed with written word that automatically populates based off of the parameters you give it. In this case, I've made it so that you can change the latitude and longitude as well as the study species, and it will automatically repopulate the document if you change it. The reason why I did this is because I will need to validate my model at many different scales. Since I am looking at movement, movement tends to change a lot depending on the scale that you're looking at. Also, when developing an agent-based model, processing power can vary, and I might need to scale down my model in order to test more complex things. I also need to be aware of data availability, which is much of what I've put in this document. First, I took a look at the distribution of releases and recaptures. On the left, you can see my tile maps. These represent the total sum of releases and recaptures in 1 degree by 1 degree squares. This helps me understand the distribution of the data and how rich it is for the given area. The density maps to the right show where the highest proportion of fish is. This is more beneficial if I decide to scale down my agent-based model because this shows where the highest concentrations of information are, and I can potentially use those areas if I need to adjust the size of the model. The second thing I summarized is distance traveled and time at liberty. These are important because by looking at the distributions of the time at liberty and distance traveled, as well as the average time and maximums, I am able to summarize how far the fish are able to travel within certain amounts of time. But what is actually more useful is looking at all of this on a single release event. So what I have done is at the end of this report, it chooses a single release event, in this case the largest release event, but it could be fine-tuned for a random release event. The information from all of the previous slides is summarized for this single release event, and the convenient thing here is that I can then simulate this one release event in my simulation where I release the same amount of fish at the same location, and it should have all of the same, it should have matching parameters to this one if my model is modeling movement correctly. So in conclusion, the R Markdown report increases the efficiency of model validation, allowing me to be more flexible in model development. I also think this tool could be used by others who are looking at very specific schools or smaller study areas. And with that, I would like to thank you and let you know I am open to collaborations, questions, and comments at apn26@miami.edu. Thank you.